of the things that really struck me when I first got to know you on Facebook is your posts are really very long. And I must admit that I didn't really read everything. But every time when I do get to read something and something do catch my attention, I will definitely finish it. There is something there about length that maybe you can share a little bit.
Well, I guess the first thing is, I think on social media, a lot of people likes to take it the quick way, in which they just share a post and that's it. So at that time, I realized that everybody is doing that. In fact, some marketers are also doing that. So to maybe set myself apart and give myself a style or branding, right, I had to be a little bit different. And so what happened was I decided to port my skills from the Air Force of writing star paper to the real world of entrepreneurship. And what I do is I write long posts. I tend to write in terms of a story. And I think that is maybe the reason why there are people who, despite post lengths of about 1,600 words, which is kind of crazy really if you think about it on social media, people still take the time to read the post in the entirety. That takes them about 6 minutes to read one post.
When I read your post, I find it really engaging. It's almost like a blog post, right? And even right now, even on Instagram, I just learned that they are now starting to have this trend of getting longer posts on Instagram.
Oh, really? Wow.
Treating Instagram as a micro blog. It's just to confirm that there is a place for this kind of content, and it is definitely a lot of engagement there.
So Rio, maybe you can share a little bit about your formula for influencing stories. I think that's what you call it, right?
When I created videos for YouTube, I actually trashed 2 of the videos that I first did, because when I look back at it, I realized I was actually saying things that I wanted to say, but I wasn't really saying things that people wanted to hear. The first lesson, really, we need to understand our target audience, and we need to know who is watching our content and produce it as if we are really speaking to them. So this relatability becomes one of the number one issue that we all have to address. And then other than that, is really about creating content that will help the audience solve their problem. At the end of the day, people are only interested in your content if they have something to take away.
So I'm in my mid-40s already, and really compared to someone in his mid-20s, all things being equal, I think the advantage that us Gen Xers have is that we have decades more knowledge, decades more experiences as compared to them. We read a lot more. And so perhaps with the experience of going through that type of literature, today we have a lot more means to conjure up all those past stories, and using our imagination come out with a different form of story. I think this is an edge that perhaps us being older, we have this advantage. Do you agree so, Rio?
At the very least, we are able to come up with something a little bit more original. Do you have a formula? Because I know that you do write a lot and you do produce. Yeah, so do you have a formula when it comes to this kind of stuff?
Okay, good question. I think, yes. I think people have asked me in my workshop, they have asked me about what is a formula I use in a lot of my writing. In all this media, right, there is actually a formula. The formula that they use is essentially introducing 3 main characters in the storytelling. Now, the first character is just like, everybody knows that in any movie, any novel, even a cartoon series, there is always a hero, right? So if you have a hero, who else would you have?
The villain.
Villain, of course, okay? So you always have a good guy and a bad guy, but usually there is a third party that they introduce, not so obvious to most people, but normally when you have a villain, who would you have also?
The victim.
Correct, the damsel in distress, the victim.
Yeah.
So I think this triangle of relationship, the hero, the villain, and the victim, is something that they always make use of in a show to get us hooked to this. And maybe because since young we have been introduced to this triad of characters that it gets ingrained in our mind. If we don't see either of these appear, right, something seems to be missing. I thought this this formula can be used on my stories, and so I did. So in a lot of my long posts that is written in a story ways, I will introduce 3 characters. Now, usually I think a lot of people, when I ask them who should the hero be, they will always, almost always say that the hero should be the reader. But I sort of disagree. And I think, Rio, you may not advocate, the writer as the hero also, right? What is your take on that?
Yeah, because to me, you can have the writer being the hero if it is an entertainment piece. But what I advocate is really when it comes to business storytelling, everybody wants to be a hero, right? Including the audience. So if your brand claims to be the hero, then your audience can no longer be the hero, and that is a little bit of a disappointment. And one of the key ways for you to really draw people into your story is to allow them to be able to project themselves onto the hero character. If that is the case, right, that means that the brand should not take up the role of the hero in the story. If you want to let the audience be the hero, then your brand should be the sidekick or the weapon that helps the hero to overcome the monster or to overcome the villain. When you do that, then at the end of the day, when you walk away from the story, you will realize that, hey, I want to be a hero, and in order for me to be a hero, I need the help of the brand. So that is how we can influence them to make them subtly take away that message that this brand is an important and integral part of the audience becoming the hero.
So, Rio, we have been talking a lot about written content. How about videos? Can you apply the same formula onto videos?
I think it's quite universal. And I know that you tend to feel that to have a story, you need that length. But there is a way to look at it. Let's talk about those drama series in America, for example. Most of the time, every episode is a little bit of a complete story. Okay, but they always have some sort of a story arc, a development to the character that is being carried forward to the next episode, and so on, right? So at the finale, you will have a nice roundup of the whole story. You can have a complete story across, say, 13 episodes, but you can still have a mini story within a singular episode. So that's how I would look at it, and I would say that even for a single post or a single video, you can still have a complete story, but it is going to be a much simpler, a much more concise story. The story that is being conveyed in this short form is a lot more limited, but if you are able to have more and bring the story across the story arc, and almost like an F2, F3 kind of a thing, you will have a series, and you will have a lot bigger impact, I think. And that's why also your IG and all those and YouTube, they are really encouraging you to produce in series form.
I think you're absolutely right. And this is the formula that we use for almost all of our client videos, which tend to be about 2 to 2.5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes long. And really, to really incorporate a full story, with the ups and downs and the peaks and the valleys, it's not easy. If we have a video that is about 5 minutes, maybe 8 or 10 minutes long, I think it's possible. But to squeeze everything in 2 minutes is a little bit rushed. So we actually put in 2 formulas inside most of our clients' videos of 2 minutes to tell a captivating story. Now, we also use the same formula as what you mentioned, which is to put many mini stories and chain it up into a series. So as we do something like that for our clients, right? They do it 4 videos, they do 8 videos, 12 videos, or maybe 24 videos in a year. What happens is the audience or the viewers who follow them tend to grow along with them. But in a 2-minute video, how can we captivate people to watch? Essentially, is the first part. Now, all of us have watched a movie before, it's 3 hours. But before we go to a movie, we always will see something called a trailer, right? Trailers nowadays, at least for the big movies, they have a trailer within a trailer, meaning the first 4 seconds is a summary of that whole trailer. So we use the same effect of a trailer within the trailer to put inside our video. So the first 10 seconds or so, we pick up one line from the body itself, be it controversial, emotional, or something catchy, or something will really spike the attention of someone watching it, and we put it right at the start. So that hook gets people to want to watch the entire 2 minutes, because otherwise it's very difficult to get people to want to watch in the whole entirety. And having said that, how do you get people to want to watch the next episode? So we put in something called a Zeigarnik effect inside it, which is essentially what you know as cliffhanger. So if we talk something halfway, we didn't elaborate upon it, and after that we move on to something else, and we end it there, people will be like, hey, something is missing, what's happening down there? So they will want to watch the next episode just to find out a little bit more. Perhaps let us just revisit some of the points that we have talked about. So, we talked about writing content to solve an audience problem. We talked about experiencing really helps for us Gen Xers. I shared something about using the 3 characters, the hero, the victim, and the villain, to really tell the story in great effect and get people hooked. And Rio was sharing, using mini stories within one post or a video, and then completing their story by stringing it up into a series. We also talk about using a trailer within a trailer as an attention-grabbing headline. Why this is good is because that is a promise that there is something that they're going to see. It's not a clickbait per se. Okay, and finally, you can create a cliffhanger effect so that people will continue and want to watch the next video in the series.